I would like to call to order the November 15th, 2022 meeting of the Colerain Township Zoning Commission. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and just wanted to take a second to welcome everyone that is either here or watching from home, to the township staff and my fellow commissioners. And just a reminder for everyone who is present, if you could silence your devices at this time. And Mr. Alec, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman? Yes. Mr. Faring?
Here.
Mr. Gehring?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. McMullen?
Here. Okay, commissioners, presented before you tonight are the meeting minutes from our meeting held on June 21st, 2022. Do we have any comments from the commissioners or any edits or any general feedback?
They're obviously, they're sort of incomplete. I think I got them very, very late. And I had to go through, and I had to do some unforeseen circumstances. It's really just that the required elements by the zoning commission bylaws. So who was present, what was voted on, what motions were made by who, kind of bare bones basics. With your permission and with some leniency, I like to kind of go back and do a more, almost not quite verbatim, is not how I usually do the minutes, but pretty close to at least encapsulate the essence of what maybe witnesses have made, said, stuff like that. I don't have a good, well, they're not as complete as I would like them to be.
Okay, with that in mind, commissioners, do we want to postpone review of the minutes until our next scheduled meeting?
I'd like to make a motion to hold these until next month.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Alec, we have a motion and a second to postpone review of the minutes. That is for the June 21st, and then we'll address the July 19th in a separate motion. But we do have a motion and a second to postpone review of the minutes until our next meeting. Would you do a roll call, please?
Gladly, Miss. Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Faring?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then to address the July 19th minutes as well, I'm sure it's the same feedback that we received from staff. So fellow commissioners, do we want to postpone review of those as well?
Yes.
Okay, would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion for that as well.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Alec, a roll call, please.
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Faring?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
And Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Thank you, and thanks for the work that you did do on the minutes. We will review those over the next month and come back with some feedback for you. Next up on the agenda is the public address. So if there is anyone who is in attendance tonight that would like to speak to the commission about things that are not on tonight's agenda, please indicate. Okay, we do have one.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
And if you wouldn't mind, yep,
It's green.
hitting it. It is green?
It is green.
Perfect. And then just state your name for the record, please.
Yes, Stephanie Wright. And I would just like to ask the board for their support in getting the agenda and accompanying documents online for resident review. I know it is a courtesy that you extend to us for allowing the residents to get some time to look over things that might be up on the agenda that might involve them and they might like to come to a meeting. It seems to be a repeat issue with getting the agenda uploaded to the township's website on time. I would just like to ask you to please be digital and get that approved and online quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, was there anyone else? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Alec, just confirming, no final development plan for this evening?
That is correct. There's not one this month. We are expecting to have one next month, though, just as a heads up.
Okay, and with no final development plan, no public hearing scheduled for tonight. So that brings us to item number 6, which is the informal concept review. This is in regards to Zips Carwash, the Stone Creek Towne Center. So for those who are in attendance or watching online who may not be familiar with what this process is, would you mind going through that explanation, please?
I would love to. And an informal concept review is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a very informal meeting with an applicant or really anyone who has a project to propose with the commission. They just present their general plan as they have it, and they get the initial feedback from the commission. It's not a hearing. It doesn't require any motions. It really is basically, it's just a conversation between the applicant and the commission to talk about the proposed plan, to see if there's anything that jumps out right away that the commission likes or doesn't like, or any points of advice they might be able to give the applicant to be as successful as possible in their endeavor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And is the applicant present tonight?
They are. Yep, he is. I believe they flew in today, I think. Yep, so.
Great. If you wouldn't mind approaching, or do you have a presentation first?
It's really laid back and whatever you like. I put together a real quick slideshow. The commission's pretty familiar with most parts of this development, especially throughout this year. If you want me to go through it, I will. If you want them to go first, you're more than like, whatever you guys would like. I'll do whatever you tell me to.
I think staff presentation would be best.
Agreed.
Perfect. So then you whatever you want to do. It really is. It's very informal. There's no hearing, there's no testimony, anything like that. So
Yep, thank
just
you.
give a kind of general overview of the township. We're talking about Stone Creek Towne Center. Pretty much the most vibrant development we have in the township at the moment. This is just some slides from the initial zoning amendment case where this went through back in 2005. Just some renderings that were proposed. Same thing, just kind of covering that aerial image of the development overall. And then this is a specific parcel in which we'll be talking about tonight. It's the Meijer, if you're familiar with that shopping center. And zoom in just so a little bit over 17 acres, just under 18 actually, the entire parcel just for the Meijer. And then we're talking about the proposed site will be roughly, if you can see that red dot on the screen, where it's roughly in that area right there. And then I will go do a real quick flyover of the proposed plan, and then I have them available here. If you'd like me to go back and reference them, I'd be more than happy. Any slide I have up, I'll go back and reference for the applicant if they'd like, or for any of the commissioners as well. These are all these are also in front of you on your desk there. These would be those large prints. There's 7 pages overall, just sort of concept view. What we're talking about here, I put a car wash out at that sort of most northern end of the parcel there. Right where it abuts the boulevard. Some more renderings. And that's pretty much all we have on that aspect. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about and where it is and what we're talking about. So, gentlemen.
Hi, good evening. I'm Don Bouvier. I'm with UCR Development. We're in an exclusive business relationship with Meijer and Zips Express Car Wash. We're the preferred developer of this property, and with me tonight. A couple of my partners here that will also speak and say a few words. I just figured I'd give an introduction and say thank you for having us up here today to have an opportunity to informally go through our intentions for the property and give you a little more background as to why it is and why we chose this site and why Meijer chose us. And really, I'll start by saying that this is obviously, as you know, Meijer's property, and they've been undergoing a significant remodel of an improvement of the asset that they have on the ground, and we're happy to be a part of that strategy that they've had. This has been a long time coming that we've been working on this relationship, not just here, but on a number of the Meijer stores. And just a little bit about, again, the intention of what we're doing and why. We're retail developers, and as you see across the country, retail has changed quite a bit, and you're seeing a lot of service use now bleeding into the retail settings. A lot of these older stores are being repositioned, repurposed. They have massive parking lots that are underutilized, and so you start to see service uses like this that complement the customers that are frequenting the shopping center. And we find it quite common that uses like this now are well within shopping center formats such as this. This is a state-of-the-art express car wash. It's high technology, and just I won't steal the thunder of my partners here, but there's a lot of synergy that happens in between the car wash and the grocery store as customers come into the grocery store or before they come in and get a car wash. It's environmentally friendly, and my partners, as I said, we'll go into a little more detail. So anyway, we're happy to be here and answer any questions. I understand there may be a few. So without further ado, I'll bring up Rado, our engineering consultant, to walk you through a little more of the detail of the plan. And I'm here to answer any questions you have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for your time and taking your attention to see our presentation. Jared, if we can go to the civil engineering plan, that would be, yes, this is the one, the
And
list.
sir, can you please state your name for the
Yes,
record?
my name is Rado Netkov, CI Engineering. I'm the consultant.
Thank you.
What I was going to walk you through here is our site plan. We had a meeting with the county already to kind of discuss how all this development would fit in this parking lot, and it was very well received with the county engineer. We had to do some adjustments to our typical layout to kind of avoid disturbance over the sanitary sewer line, which you see on the north side. But what I was going to probably start with is, if you look at this development right now, we significantly increased the landscape buffer along Stone Creek Boulevard, and we repositioned the access points to the car wash to where they're at 90-degree angle of the drives, and allow for better flow when it comes to a circulation around the site. And I mean, you know what that parking lot looks like right now. I was there this morning. It's not utilized at all. There was actually almost like a car storage, and I believe that using this portion of the parking lot for something like this would really benefit the development. Now, and to be honest, last week we were in Louisville when we had at our meeting there, showing them similar site plan for the Meijer that they have there at Preston. They were actually very pleased with that parking lot becoming something else but just an empty paved lot. We significantly improved the stormwater condition, as you can see, with the amount of buffer that we're adding in, to the point where the county won't even require any stormwater review. So as a whole, overall, I think this is a very good layout that would, like I said, improve the circulation of the site, provide a green buffer along Stone Creek Boulevard, and all the utilities are basically on the site. There is water that's right along the Stone Creek Boulevard. Sanitary sewer is literally on our property, and the electric and the gas as well. We provide 18 parking spaces, usually we like to see more of the drive-through lanes. We limited that to only the drive-through lanes only to 2 for the benefit of the landscape buffer along Stone Creek. But like I said, it's I think comparing to what the parking lot looks like now and what we're proposing, this would be a significant improvement. Do you have any questions on the civil design, site layout?
As I understand, these are 24-hour availability, self-contained car washes, correct?
I would let Greg answer the questions for the operational stuff.
Okay.
Greg McGahee, UCR Development, 8080 Park Lane, Dallas, Texas. No, these are not 24-hour. They are operated, I want to say, from, I don't know the exact hour. It's usually 9 or so in the morning until 7 or so, 8 in the evening.
Okay.
Of that nature. So pretty standard, pretty automated. As Don had said, state of the art as far as these car washes go. So.
Okay. And they're staffed during that time?
Staff during that time, correct. Yeah, we usually have 2 to 3 people on site.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So there is a Zips Carwash that is already located in Colerain, just a couple miles from here. One of the issues that comes up frequently for that location is just the amount of litter that ends up on that lot. Do you have a plan in place, knowing the number of people that are shopping and visiting that area, of how you're going to control that piece of property and the buffering that is
Yeah, I
around
mean,
you?
from an operational standpoint, we will have an operations manager on site, as well as just staff underneath them. So if there are any specific issues that you guys see, you just have to, city would just need to reach out to them directly and we could get it taken care of.
And then a question for staff. That area is currently a bus stop and kind of a park and ride. Do you know if there's plans to move that to a different area on that development, or?
I do not know if there's any plans. That would be between the current property owner and then, who operates that ride share. Is that a
Metro.
Is it a Metro? Discuss that with them to find another suitable location.
Then my last comment right now is there is a retaining wall that is pretty close to this area that at one point had to be rebuilt. Do we know if we're sure that that part of the property can handle that type of development?
I would have no expertise to speak to something like that, like a geological stability survey or something like that. That would be subject matter expert. That is not me on when it comes to that. So my answer is I don't have any idea on that. I apologize.
Yes, I believe you're referring to the retaining wall that's on the northwest corner by the creek. Yeah, that is pretty far from where we are putting our car wash. And my understanding is this is the county jurisdiction, which, like I said, they have already seen this layout and they were very much in favor of it. So I don't believe our development would affect in any shape or form that stability of the retaining wall.
I have a question on your retention detention. So you mentioned you had met with the county engineer,
Yes, sir.
and since this is a planned development, I assume that stormwater has been designed for this impervious surface.
That's correct.
So where is the detention for this, or retention for this particular development?
So the area that we are developing, it's approximately 1.2 acres. As you can see, in its existing condition is almost 100% impervious.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe there was a retention pond. If you zoom out a little bit, right across the Stone Creek.
One of these or no?
Yeah, two down from that. The close-up that's colored, because it gives you a better understanding of the amount of grass that's being added.
So the storm system runs basically where our green buffer is going to sit. Those storm inlets would actually remain in place. They will be obviously reshaped to where they can capture the water, but overall we are decreasing the amount of runoff. So we are not going to be required to put any detention pond on our property for that purpose. It is significant improvement when it comes to amount.
So obviously your impervious surface is less with the
Far
grass
less,
that's
yes.
there versus the
That's correct.
asphalt that's existing. I guess my question was, I was just curious where that retention was for this 1 acre site or whatever you have.
I
So
believe
it's just to the
pond
north,
across
I
the
guess?
street.
Okay, across the Stone Creek there.
That's correct. Yeah.
Well, I guess another question I have is, and I understand someone's initial comment about a sea of asphalt that's underutilized. But just from a zoning standpoint, obviously parking spaces are being removed from the Meijer store. How does that shake out in terms of required parking that is needed for the Meijer retail use?
That is part of the calculation we would do at the actual meeting. Probably at a less or a more formal meeting, we would go through that. We'd require to have all parking spaces shown, and then as existing, the amount we're taking away, and compare that to what was approved in the resolution in 2005.
Okay.
Which is always, if the zoning commission feels is the case, can be amended if we could, in not in this hearing or necessarily in the hearing, but in this session, could offer a variance to that. Not in just this particular case, but in almost all particular cases with what we're seeing with the retail now, there's almost always more parking required than what is usually utilized, which is not ideal, but at the same time, that would be the commission's decision to make if we wanted to grant that variance.
Yeah, from what it looks like, they're knocking out about 164 spots.
Could be,
Quite a few.
yeah. Yep, and then also another good point of this meeting is where we have questions like maybe about geological stability. That's kind of where we kick it off, to you or to any applicant would be here, say, hey, that would be, if you did come to apply to have this amended, that'd definitely be a piece of information, you want to have available, and then that could be condition placed upon the approval, right? The appropriate studies would have to be done and certified by a geotechnical engineer to certify that, this would not cause some unforeseen detrimental effect to that retaining wall.
Right, but as you mentioned, that level of
Yep,
feedback will come at the preliminary development plan phase.
Yep, what we're doing now is the exact purpose. Right? We have some just kind of basic overall questions. They have some basic overall answers. As we get into more specific questions, and if they wanted to, could come back with more specific answers. I could do you can do as many informal concept reviews as you would like, I guess, technically. Maybe at some point I have to try and tell them no, if they got too many. But if they were that point where they came back with, either informal concept or an actual application, they'd hopefully have that information available.
Just two other comments looking at the site plan. First of all, I think the actual circulation's better with your plan. You're removing some curb cuts that are pretty close to Stone Creek with the existing layout of the parking, so you're to be commended for that. I guess my second question is, looking at the building elevations that were up, architecturally, thank you. I don't know what standards there is in the development plan for the whole Meijer concept, and I guess that'd be one question I would have as you do the research is this consistent with those particular design characteristics, design elements, whatever they might be?
So those elements, those architectural design characteristics elements are laid out in the approving resolution. And even like when Meijer themselves, all absent of this, when they applied for basically just what we call remodel, there was a letter set out that, they have to meet the general overall design of the PD. So in that case, maybe if this bright red was not something that wanted to be approved, and you could come back with some other color options, and then required or deny it based upon if they met that or not.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know what those are. It did answer my question.
Okay.
I don't know what those are. And I guess the next question to you folks is probably more the last gentleman spoke. Are these your corporate colors here, the red, the brown, and the beige, or whatever that is?
That's correct. Yeah, that's the corporate design.
And is that, I don't know the facility that you talked about in Colerain, the Zips, is that the exact design that you
It's a
have?
completely different looking building.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
okay.
this is the new style, the new design, the new layout for the building. It's kind of a flagship style, flagship store for them. So this is what, across the 6 states that we represent them in, this is what we're moving
Gotcha.
forward with in the future. And we're also starting to remodel a lot of the ones that look like what's down the street to something more in this genre.
Gotcha.
Are these franchise?
Corporate stores.
Are there any in the area that we could, in the greater Cincinnati area, that are
That look like this?
close to it? Yep.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so this,
This will be the first.
okay.
But if you could,
Best of my knowledge, yeah.
some pictures would be, I think, ideal when you resubmit the final plan. Some pictures of how this really works in another location, I think would be very appropriate for us.
It's a pretty new design for them. We have some designs where they were maybe working towards getting to this ultimate look we have photos of. But by the time we make the submittal, there may be something that is actually this design on the ground. But we'll get you something.
That's fine. And just my last comment, did I see that the vacuums are on the Meijer side? Yes, 15 vacs there on the Meijer side?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
My final comment would be for the Meijer side to provide, I see you have the green buffer, any type of trees or, I don't think fencing is appropriate, but any landscaping bushes, items like that would be pretty desirable in that area.
That's still being worked out at this point as to how that's all gonna look, but there will be some level of a buffer between the two and then a drive aisle, and whether they'll have head-in parking spaces facing up and the landscape islands will pull further away from our site, or if there will just be a drive and the landscape islands will be on the other side of that drive, still to be determined at this point, but we're working towards it, and we can provide that at that time.
Okay, and then with this being an informal review, you are able to ask us some questions if there's anything that you would want our opinion on going the other direction instead of us just questioning you. So you do have that ability here.
So our intent was to make a submittal next month, and I was very much hoping for specific comments on the layout. I appreciate your mentioning that buffer on the south side, which we definitely would take into consideration. The goal obviously here is to submit something that would be acceptable for you. Like I said, we've already reached out to the county and we have good grasp on what the engineering of the site would look like. But I understand that Stone Creek is one of the prime locations in the township, and we want to make sure that we deliver a layout that is obviously meeting your expectations. So if you don't give us those comments now, we could obviously get them next week or the following week. But before we make a formal submittal, I would very much like to have your comments, so we can incorporate those in the design.
Well, just one specific comment, and then again, it's a question, but as I look at it just to try to be specific, you have 2 curb cuts that come off of the main drive there off of Stone Creek, correct? The one that you start queuing up and then the exit on the right-hand side there?
That's correct.
Yeah. On the left-hand side, all the way over, is that a curb cut connection? That is then, yeah? Where, I guess that's south of the dumpster?
Yep.
That is a curb cut?
Right, yes.
Okay, because this plan does not show it that way. The white plan?
The white plan, yes, we didn't have the landscape buffer on the white plan, but yes, you're correct. And like Greg mentioned, we still have to work out the buffer on the south side between Meijer and the gas station. I believe there's going to be some sort of buffer there, mainly because of the grading. As you know, the parking is pretty wavy. we have not really gotten into details of how that's going to look like, but yes, that will be a curb cut, separate curb cut.
Okay, but you understand my confusion.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
That would be my fault. I printed these off. Is it not?
No, it's not your fault. It's just that it just doesn't show.
the site layout.
Yeah,
I
the
The
apologize.
engineering-
site, the site layout's a little off.
The
It's okay.
engineering plan
It's
is going to
preliminary.
that extent.
Apologize.
Yes.
Yeah, do you know, do you intend to make this a separate parcel? Is that
Yes.
generally how these go? Okay.
Yep.
And how is the dumpster screened?
It will be I believe there is a wall, architectural wall.
It's a CMU wall that matches the gates, typically.
Locked gates? The gates will be locked, correct?
Typically, they're not locked because the trash company that picks up the trash doesn't want them locked. Normally they shut and then they're bolted into the ground, so they're not swinging open. But a physical lock on them is not something usually that the company that's picking up the trash is wanting.
And I don't know how the lighting works now, frankly. Are you adding site lighting to this?
We'll have site lighting on our parcel, yes, and then I'm not exactly sure how this matches up exactly with where Meijer's lights are today, but that'll all get reworked as we go through this process. So there may be some Meijer lights that have to shift a little bit towards their building depending on how the drive aisles work and things of that nature, but those are all things
Okay.
we're working through.
I just got one comment on signage. I know signage has been a real issue back there on other buildings over the years, so I would get with them and
We
get
have
signage worked out.
a national sign company, or Zips has a national sign company. They'll come through and do a separate due diligence of all the signage, put together what is allowed, and then, if there's a variance or anything of that nature that Zips wants to pursue, we can do that at that time. What's shown here is it's just part of the picture, but we know we've got to go through that step.
Okay, anyone else? Mrs. Smith?
No.
Mr. Garing?
Nope.
Okay,
Hey, thanks so much for your time.
thank you.
Gentlemen.
We appreciate it. Yes, that's fine.
I just wondered if I'm understanding this correctly, that Zips also owns the car wash that is located at 8301 Colerain?
Yes,
Okay, and then there are going to build one at 3711 Colerain. And just for some background, we have 4 car washes within 1 mile of each other on Colerain Avenue. Seems like a lot as far as economic development going. I don't know if, guess we need the cars to go, or car wash to go with all the tire places and the automotive places, so I guess the car wash does fill into that, but I was just curious. And also, the location at 8301 Colerain, there is a huge garbage and trash problem there, as you did mention before. And I wondered if the owners of the new Zips happened to tour that property today when they were in town. If they did, they would have seen all the litter in the parking lot. And it's constantly reported through our CSR system in the township as problem with getting their litter under control. Additionally, the number that's advertised on Zips, no one ever answers, and the voicemail box is always full. Thank you.
okay, Mr. Alec, any old business?
Let's see, at the moment, nope, there is not.
Okay, and I see no new business. For administration, there is the proposed 2023 zoning commission meeting calendar.
The very last page in those, the small handout, the small package you have there, would be this calendar. Just ask all commissioners to review it, see if it seems to work out for everyone. Sometimes I'm blind to some holidays or dates. If something pops out to anyone there, that might be in conflict with something else, please let me know. I try to not have the meetings, like either zoning commission and Board of Zoning Appeals in the same week, or like right before, major holidays, stuff like that. So if I miss something, please let me know.
Does anyone have any feedback on the calendar?
Looks good to me.
Just if you would look over it, and if something pops up to you between now, shoot me an email, or at the next meeting, next month, just let me know.
All right, so this is informational this meeting, and then next meeting,
Hopefully
we will
we'll approve it
adopt
next meeting, hopefully.
Okay. All right, so on the calendar for next month, we have a meeting scheduled for December 20th.
It said earlier, we'll definitely have a final, an FDP, Final Development Plan, from the Weiler case, the ZA 2022-07. They have submitted their FDP for that. And then hopefully, we'll have 3 meetings minutes, and then hopefully, the calendar, unless there are any modifications to be made on it. And that might wrap it up as far as I can foresee for next meeting.
So at this point, we're expecting the Zips preliminary development plan, if they submit the final development plan for Weiler, minutes, and calendar. Okay. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the zoning commission meeting. So just want to thank the commissioners and staff and everyone who was in attendance. It is the start of the holiday season, so just hope that everyone has a safe and happy holiday season. So commissioners, anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Oh, sorry.
Mrs. Smith seconded.
Excellent, excellent.
All right, so all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, everyone.